There's something terrifying about being far from home. A different language, unfamiliar streets, no one to call for help. For most people, travel means adventure, but for others, it becomes a nightmare. These are real stories from people who left their comfort zones and came face to face with danger. This happened last year when my wife and I traveled to Cartagena, Colombia. Her best friend was getting married there, and it was a destination wedding. I'd never been outside the US before, so I was excited. Aside from the nightmare of getting my passport on time, Cartagena is stunning. It sits right on the Caribbean Sea, and everything looks like it's out of a postcard. When we landed, we picked up our rental and drove up this winding road to the hotel. It was on a hill with a view that looked out over the whole city. After unpacking, we headed to the pool. It was down a small path past some vineyards. When we got there, a man was skimming the pool. He saw us and lit up, waving and saying, "Get in, very nice, very refreshing." His English was broken, but understandable. It was in the 90s and humid, and after flying all day, we did not need much convincing. We jumped in, and I noticed the guy did not leave. He just sat there on a lounger, watching us, and not in a casual, keeping an eye on things way. He was watching my wife hard. I tried to make small talk to break the weirdness. I asked how long he'd worked there for. He gave me a huge smile, too big for such a basic question, and held up all 10 fingers. "Many years," he said. I asked for his name. It was Giorgino. A few other wedding guests showed up then, heading to the pool. As soon as they appeared, Giorgino stood up quickly and said he had to go to work. He walked into the small pool house nearby. It was more of a hut, just for towels and the bathroom. I saw him disappear behind it, and then forgot about it as we started chatting with the others. It got darker, and the string lights turned on. We were talking with one of the groomsmen when I noticed movement from behind him. It was Giorgino, peeking out from behind the pool house, just watching. When he saw me looking, he gave the smirk and slipped back behind the wall. We ended up heading back to our room a little later. The room was at the far end of a row of units, kind of like a condo setup, all one level. Our windows faced the city, with a big tree not far from the glass. We took showers, got into bed, and started relaxing. That's when we heard a tapping sound. It was faint, but rhythmic, like someone tapping on the window. We figured it was the wind pushing a branch against the glass. 5 minutes later, we heard the same tapping, but now at the front door. My wife got nervous, so I threw on a robe and opened the door. It was pitch black outside, no walkway lights, no sound. I stepped out and looked around. My eyes adjusted a bit, and I scanned the edge of the building. There was a big tree a short distance away. For whatever reason, I focused in on that area. And that's when I saw him. He was half hidden behind the tree. It was Giorgino, smiling, just watching. His face was tilted, eyes locked on me, mouth stretched into this weird grin, like he wanted to be caught. I felt a jolt of fear, but managed to get out a shaky, "Hey, was that you tapping on the window?" Nothing, just more staring. "What's your problem?" I asked. Still no answer. He just stood there like a statue. I went back in, locked the door, and picked up the phone to call the front desk, but the phone wouldn't connect, just a fast beeping sound, like it wasn't even hooked up. I did not tell my wife what I saw. She was already on edge, and I did not want to ruin the trip. She fell asleep quickly. I didn't. I stayed up listening, waiting. At some point, I must have nodded off. And maybe this was a dream, or maybe not, but in that half-asleep state, I saw Georgino's face at the side window, just watching us sleep. When I snapped fully awake, he was gone. The next morning, I went straight to the front desk. I did not want to make a big deal. It was wedding day, but I told the receptionist that the pool boy, Georgino, had been acting strange. She looked confused. "I'm sorry, sir," she said in perfect English. "We don't have anyone named Georgino on staff." Well, I started to describe him. She brought out her manager. Neither of them recognized who I was talking about. Then the manager said something that made my stomach sink. "Sometimes locals wander onto the property. There's not much we can do about it. Just ask them to leave if it happens again." I was speechless. We stayed another 2 nights. The wedding was great, the views were gorgeous, and we went back to the pool once. No sign of Georgino. But I still think about him. How long was he watching us before we noticed? How close did he actually get to our room? And why the hell was he smiling like that? I'll never know. But if you ever stay at a quiet little hilltop hotel in Cartagena, just know, not every friendly face works there. This happened to me last summer when I went on a trip to the Bahamas with my girlfriend. We did a few touristy things, but one of the things we were most excited about was a private boat tour we booked through our resort. It wasn't anything fancy, just a small motorboat with a guide and about 6 other people. It was a couple, 2 parents with 2 little kids, and us. The whole thing was supposed to be about 3 hours, touring a few small islands and snorkeling spots. The tour started off normal. We stopped at a reef for about 30 minutes and saw some cool fish. Then we cruised past a few uninhabited islands, the kind that you would see on desktops on old computers. Some of the islands were small enough to walk across in a few minutes. Our guide, a local guy named Trevor, told us no one lived on any of them, and most did not even have names. I remember him saying you needed a permit to set foot on some of them because of wildlife protections. We were cruising past one of the islands, maybe the 4th or 5th one, when I noticed something weird. Off to the right, on the beach, I saw a figure. I thought it might have been a rock at first, but then it moved. Definitely a person. He was crouched behind a boulder at the edge of the tree line, like he was trying to hide. I pointed this out to my girlfriend, and she saw it too. She said, "Is someone out there?" The guide glanced over, slowed the boat a little, and squinted at the island. He got really quiet. The guy behind the rock stood up. He was shirtless, barefoot, and his hair looked soaked. He stared at us, then suddenly bolted down the beach. At first, I thought he was just running along the shore, maybe trying to get attention. But then he jumped into the water and started swimming towards us, fast, like way faster than I've ever seen someone swim. His arms were slicing through the water like he was trained or just absolutely fueled by adrenaline. He was yelling something. At first it just sounded like noise, screaming, but once he got closer, we could make it out. "I'm coming for you." Over and over again he was yelling. The parents grabbed their kids. The little girl started bawling. One of the guys on the boat asked Trevor what was going on. Trevor did not answer. He was frozen for a second, just watching the guy come at us like a missile. Then he turned on the engine and told everyone to sit down, now. We started moving, but the guy just kept coming. I looked back and he was maybe 30 feet from the boat. His eyes were wide, locked on us, and he was still screaming. I swear he never broke stroke. Trevor picked up his radio and called something in. He was speaking in short, clipped phrases. I couldn't make out everything, but I caught unidentified male in water and Island 6 or 7 off North Point. Then he stopped talking and just focused on getting us out of there. The guy did not give up right away. He kept swimming after us for a good couple of minutes. I don't know how he didn't get tired. Eventually, he started slowing down. His screams got fainter. Last I saw him, he was floating in the water, watching us, still screaming, but you couldn't hear it anymore. And Trevor did not say much after that. We all sat there in silence. The parents were trying to calm their kids down. My girlfriend just held my arm and stared straight ahead. Eventually, Trevor took us to a calmer inlet and said we would cut the tour short and head back. He apologized and said we would all get a refund. One of the other guests asked if he knew who that guy was or what was going on, and Trevor just said, "No one is allowed on that island. No one should be out there." We got back to the dock, and I saw Trevor talking to 2 other guys who looked like they worked for the tour company. He was serious, almost angry, but quiet about it. He kept looking over at us like he did not want to scare us more than we already were. I never found out who that guy was or how he ended up there. No news story, no follow-up email from the tour company. I even tried Googling it when we got back to the hotel, and again when we returned home. Nothing. What gets me the most is how determined he looked. Like he wasn't just lost or looking for help. He was chasing us. Like he had a reason. Like we were the reason. The way he moved in the water didn't look like desperation. It looked like focus. I think about it sometimes when I can't sleep. Just seeing someone like that, way out in the middle of nowhere, coming at you with that look on their face. It did not feel real while it was happening, but it was, and I still have no idea why. So, I wanted to share something that happened to me a couple of years ago when I was 22 and backpacking through Italy solo. It was one of those things that I did not realize was terrifying until I was already in it and had no way out. I was in Rome, staying at a hostel for a few nights before flying back to the States. On one of my last days, I figured I'd take a quick day trip down to Naples and Pompeii. I had seen it on travel blogs. Just a couple of hours by train, easy enough. When I mentioned the plan to the hostel staff, one of the girls immediately frowned and asked if I was going alone. I told her yeah, and the guy working the desk kind of glanced at her like, yikes. They both told me Naples could be sketchy, especially for solo female travelers, and warned me to be careful. I brushed off their concerns. I had made it through Florence, Venice, and Milan just fine. I figured people were just overreacting. The train ride from Rome to Naples was smooth. When I got to Naples, I had about an hour to kill before hopping the Circumvuziana train out to Pompeii. The station felt chaotic. It wasn't like Rome Termini, which felt organized and international. Naples was loud, crowded, and kind of grimy. Still, I found the right platform for Pompeii, or at least I thought I did. I boarded the train, but about 15 minutes in, I realized I had messed up. The stops did not match the map I had. I panicked a little, but figured I'd just get off at the next stop and head back. The train pulled into this tiny station. I don't even remember the name, and I stepped off. The place looked like it hadn't seen maintenance in years. The signs were faded. Graffiti was everywhere. There were no station employees. It was literally just 2 raised concrete platforms, train tracks in the middle, and a bunch of empty space around us. There were maybe 2 other people at the far end of my platform, and I could see a couple of guys on the other side. I sat on the bench and pulled up my phone to check the train schedule. No service, of course. I had downloaded an offline map, but it did not tell me anything useful. I couldn't even tell how far out of Naples I was. I noticed the guys across the tracks were looking at me. Not in a passing glance kind of way, but like they were talking to each other and pointing. One of them waved, and I gave a quick nod, trying not to engage. They did not stop watching. Another guy joined them, then another. Now there were 4 or 5 of them. After a minute or two, one of them started gesturing toward me, like motioning with his hands to come here, which made no sense. Then one of them yelled something I couldn't make out, but it made the others laugh. I tried not to look, but I was fully aware of every move they made. Then one of them jumped down from the platform, crossed the tracks, and climbed up onto mine. He did not say anything at first. He just stood at the edge of the platform, pacing slowly back and forth, about 20 feet from me. Every so often he glanced at me, then he glanced back across the tracks, and the guys over there would laugh again. I did not know what to do. I had no cell service, no pepper spray, and the only thing I had on me was this small pocket knife I kept in the inside of my coat. I never actually used it before. I slipped my hand into the coat and gripped it tightly. My heart was pounding so loud I felt like he could hear it. I kept my eyes low, pretending to look at my phone. I was trying to act casual while my brain was going through every worst-case scenario imaginable. I did not know how much time I had until the next train, or even if it was coming. I just kept thinking, don't make eye contact, don't show fear, just look calm. Eventually, the guy started inching closer. Not quickly, just slowly walking in my direction, pretending to look around like he wasn't paying attention. My hand was shaking so bad I could barely grip the knife. I was seriously considering running. I did not know where. There were no buildings nearby, no shops or other people. Just silence and this dude watching me. Then I heard the train horn. It was faint at first, but getting closer. I stood up and took a few steps toward where I figured the front car would stop. I did not look behind me, but I could hear the guy stop walking. I stood right at the edge of the platform as the train pulled in. I practically jumped into the car as soon as the doors opened. I sat by the window and looked out. The guy had stepped back to the edge of the platform. The others across the tracks were still standing there, watching. No one got onto the train. I have no idea what their plan was, or if they were just messing with me. But I know for sure I was one missed train away from something going really, really wrong. I never made it to Pompeii. I rode that train all the way back to Naples, and then got on the first one to Rome. Did not speak the whole way back. I just kept thinking how dumb I was for not listening to the hostile staff. Never again.